वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठितं मनो मे वाचे प्रतिष्ठितं अभिरभिर्मयेधि वेदस्य मानिस्तहं श्रुतं मे वा प्रभाषिरणेनोदितेन रत्रं समददामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्भक्तारमवतु अवतु मम अवतु भक्तारम् Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May my speech be one with my mind, and may my mind be one with my speech. O thou self-luminous Brahman, remove the veil of ignorance from before me, so that I may behold thy light. Do thou reveal to me the truth of the scriptures. May the spirit of the scriptures be ever present to me. May I seek day and night to realize what I learned from the sages. May I speak the truth of Brahman. May I speak the truth. May it protect me. May it protect my teacher. Om, peace, 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 wellful. Friends, we are very happy today we have a guest speaker. I always love to have our brother monks to come and visit our place. Swami Sarvasthananda is the minister in charge of the Ramakrishna Vivekananda Center, England. It is not in London, it is in Bourne, Buckinghamshire, outside of London. He was a disciple of Swami Videsharanandaji, and he joined the Ramakrishna Order in 1987. He worked for 30 years in Rajkot, Gujarat, in various capacities. Though his mother tongue was not in Gujarati, but he edited and worked on the publication department in Gujarati language in Rajkot for many, many years. I appreciate to learn other language and work on it. Then he was transferred to London in 2017, correct? 2018. And he was connected with UNESCO and represented our Ramakrishna Order and in various activities there too. Interfaith. Anyhow, he recently visited South America, and from there he came and he was going to conduct a retreat in Ganges under Chicago Center. So I requested him to come. So he was in Kansas City. Yesterday he came and today he will be here. Anyhow, we are very happy that Swami Sarvasthananda will speak today to us. And his topic, 4 pathways to spirituality, 4 pathways of spiritual life. Swami Sarvasthananda.
I begin with a prayer. Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Namasri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. Revered Swami Chetananandji Maharaj, other dear and revered monks and devotees. It's a blessed privilege to be here at St. Louis and have the holy company of Revered Swami Chetananandji Maharaj, whom incidentally I met a few months before my joining the order in 87. In 86, we were all college students and inspired by two of his books which were published at that time. They were very popular among our student community. One was Meditation and its Methods, a compilation of Swamiji's thoughts, and Vedanta, the Voice of Freedom, which was just available. It was a book fresh in our hands, and that inspired me to just visit the place where Adi Shankaracharya was born, Kaladi. So to my surprise, I had the blessed privilege of meeting Maharaj and taking bath in the same Purna river where Shankaracharya finally decided to embrace a life of sannyasa. So we practically took the bath together. Yeah, so those are fond memories. After that, it's a long time since I met Revered Maharaj, so it's a great privilege to come here, even if it is for a few days, to enjoy the holy company of Revered Maharaj. So today, the topic on which I am supposed to speak is 4 pathways of spiritual life. In fact, that is the topic on which I have to speak in the retreat as well. So, in Chicago, but of course, that topic has to be, as I've been asked to spread it over 4 sessions. That's 4 topics. But here we'll discuss about it briefly. So I begin with a quote of Swami Vivekananda. Once somebody asked him, what constitutes civilizational progress? So he gave one of the most wonderful answers, what constitutes civilization. He said, civilization is the progressive reading of spirit into matter. It's a simple definition, but very profound. Because we think civilization is all about material progress, economic progress, social progress, and a lot of politics that is involved in civilizational change. But Swamiji's definition, in Swamiji's, this particular definition is very clear. The more we read spirit into matter, the more our lives are spiritual, the more progressive that particular civilization is. And that brings us to how to do it, how to read more of spirit into matter. This world, as Vedanta explains it, is a mixture of spirit and matter. It's a strange combination where somehow, through a mysterious process, matter has got mixed with spirit or pure consciousness. And that's the root cause of all our problems. So Vedanta proposes that the more you try to separate the spirit or read more of spirit into matter progressively, it cannot be done in a day. Through various processes, Vedanta has its own process. There are other schools of thought which propose different ways. So there are many pathways to unravel this consciousness, or maybe the potential divinity can be manifest, as Swamiji defines in the introduction to Raj Yoga. He says each soul is potentially divine and we have to manifest that divinity through a process by reading more and more of consciousness into matter. That is the whole of spiritual life, whether it is Vedanta or Yoga. So the book which I referred to earlier, from chapter 6 to chapter, I still remember, because that book contains not only Vedanta but Yoga as well. Vedanta, and Swamiji has harmonized both the independent systems of Vedanta and Patanjali's yoga, not only in his lectures on Vedanta, but also in his Raj Yoga, where he so beautifully combines the ideas of Vedanta and yoga as a means to manifest the divinity which is within. So there can be many pathways, but Swami Vivekananda, for the first time in the history, emphasized the synthesis of 4 yogas. Though Bhagavad Gita speaks of each chapter is a yoga, anything that reads more and more of the spirit, manifests this more and more of this divinity or consciousness in this world of matter. The world of matter normally leads us to misery. So the more we read spirit into matter, there is spiritual progress. So there are many ways, as I said, to reach. But why these 4 methods? Why 4 main pathways? Now we come to psychology. When Swami Vivekananda was discussing about a scientific approach to Vedanta or religion, he says we should have a scientific temper and not take the scriptural utterances, the great ideas of the scriptures, without rationally examining them in a very scientific way. So, and he got inspiration from his own master, Sri Ramakrishna, who lived the ideals of Vedanta, yoga and all the other great ideals in the laboratory of his own life. That is what science proposes. You propose a hypothesis, do some kind of experimental verification, and then it becomes a theory. So all these revelations of the scriptures, whether it's the Vedas, Bible or any other scripture of the world, is based on revelation. So religion is realization. That is what Swamiji emphasized. And the way to do it is through a process discovered in India or by Sanatana Dharma, that is the process of yoga. So anything that leads to this discovery or manifestation of the divinity which is already there within can be termed as yoga. But as Swami Vivekananda mentions in his Raj Yoga, his lectures on Raj Yoga, not in the book Raj Yoga, in his lectures which he delivered, some other lectures, he says psychology is the king of all sciences. No doubt we have to have a scientific approach to religion, but psychology, among all other sciences, the science of the mind is the king of all sciences. Maybe that led him to name Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, the commentary on Patanjali's Yoga Sutras which he wrote. He named it as Raj Yoga because of that. The technical word Raj Yoga, which is part of Hatha Yoga, is not what he meant. Raj Yoga is the kingly science. He says it is the king of all the sciences because the mind is the window to the entire world. That is how development of the mind or control of the mind through control of the mind leads to realization, and that process is yoga. And why 4 yogas? Not that there were this idea of 4 yogas was not there. It's there in the Bhagavad Gita, Bhakti Yoga is there. But psychologically speaking, if you see, our mind has basically 4 aspects, of which 3 aspects are accepted by Western psychology. That is the capacity to think, capacity to feel, and the capacity to exercise our willpower. These 3 are very commonly recognized: the power of thinking, the power of willing, and the power of feeling, emotion, cognition, emotion, and conation. That is the use of willpower, wherein the ideas that are in our mind finds expression in concrete action through willpower, through the proper use of willpower. That is Karma Yoga. So you might have guessed the 4 pathways are the 4 yogas, and each one deals with one aspect of the mind. Now the question may be, what is the 4th aspect? Why this 4th yoga? So Indian psychologists or yoga psychology discovered another power of the mind which is very unique to Indian culture, and that is the power you get by restraining thoughts, by exercising your thinking capacity. You develop Jnana Yoga by expressing your emotions and channelizing it towards either a personal God or a deity with devotion, that is Bhakti Yoga, and exercising our willpower, willing rightly, efficiently for the good of the world as a service of God in man is Karma Yoga. But the yoga that guides all these three yogas, Swamiji gives a beautiful example. It's like a bird which has two wings. One is Jnana, the other is Bhakti. But the rudder, the one which controls the flight of the bird, is Raj Yoga. So Raj Yoga is the most important work Swami Vivekananda left behind. You all know Jnana Yoga was a series of lectures which Swami Vivekananda delivered, mostly in London, a few in New York. So all his London lectures were thanks to J.J. Goodwin. We have those wonderful lectures on Jnana Yoga which he delivered in Piccadilly and different parts of London. So the whole of Jnana Yoga is a compilation. Karma Yoga is also a set of lectures, advanced class and a beginner's class, which he delivered, and it has been compiled together, and that is Karma Yoga. That is all we get of Karma Yoga. Then we have the Bhakti Yoga, some lectures which he delivered on the philosophy of Bhakti. But Raj Yoga is a book which he dictated, literally he wrote it. He dictated and Miss Waldo took down the notes, and it was published during his lifetime, first in London and then in New York. So Raj Yoga is something, he gave so much importance to this particular book, because as I said, it was the tail of the bird which guides all the other three yogas. That is how the fourth faculty, when we restrain the mind, Patanjali says, when there is Chitta Vritti Nirodha, the mind has the capacity, it has the potential to manifest that divinity which is within. Of course, there are different steps. We pass from the gross to the subtle. That is what Vedanta tells us. We start with matter is nothing but Annamaya Kosha, but then we recognize a slightly refined power which is known as Pranamaya Kosha, the powers that control the Annamaya Kosha. So we go into a slightly subtler level. That is what Vedanta tells us. But we should not stop there. Our reading of consciousness into matter should continue further. At the level of the Manomaya Kosha, which is just like our reactive mind, we get inputs from the sense organs and then we react to them. And we develop all the skill sets that we use for cultivating knowledge. But Vedanta doesn't stop there. Yoga doesn't stop there. They say there's a still higher faculty which we need to discover or explore all the possibilities of the higher mind, which is Buddhi. So that comes at the level of Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then we have the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the causal body, which can be equated to the causal body, where we go deeper into the recesses of our mind and try to find out what are the samskaras that are giving rise to different thoughts. And by a process of yoga, Patanjali describes that, we try to burn those impressions, Dagda Bija, as it is known. Literally the seeds will stop sprouting if you burn them. So there are so many hidden thoughts which suddenly come to the surface when we sit for meditation. So that is the whole process of Raj Yoga. So this manifestation of the divinity helps us, or maybe to read more and more of spirit into matter. So as Jesus said, the kingdom of God is the kingdom of spirit. It's the kingdom of the spirit, not matter. And God and mammon cannot go together. So the more we read, more we live a conscious life trying to manifest this spirit within. And that unique process, using all the four faculties of the mind. Swamiji, of course, says you can use one of these faculties to the exclusion of others by one or more or all. He gives that option. There are people who are very emotional in nature, would prefer to reach the goal through bhakti, just through bhakti, using the emotional faculty of their mind. Some who like to think, like to rationalize, would prefer Jnana Yoga. They are not so emotional in nature. So they can follow the path of pure Jnana. So also there are people who are highly meditative in nature, and some of the religions like Buddhism, for example, they give so much of importance to meditation. Different types of meditation you will find in this world. So that is another aspect. And then of course we have Karma Yoga. For most of the people, it's a very natural way to realize the divinity within, because human beings cannot rest without work. It's the willpower that pushes them to use the wonderful ideas that Vedanta gives them. That's why Swamiji gave a series of lectures on practical Vedanta. So he gave a series of lectures that Vedanta is not just cognition, to put those ideas into every movement of life, as he mentions, as he writes in his letter to Nivedita, how to manifest that in every movement of life. So that is Karma Yoga. So since the willpower, anyway, in any case, we exert this willpower. So if we know how to channelize it and use that willpower to manifest this divinity within, to uncover the spiritual side of our personality, because our involvement in matter will always oppose that. We are so much engrossed in matter that it's a challenge. It requires hard practice through these four methods, and it's our mind which has to be trained in all these aspects. So that is why Swami Vivekananda said, just as my master was an all-rounded personality, he spoke of Sri Ramakrishna, who harmonized all these four paths and demonstrated to the world that they are not antagonistic to each other. And it's not good to have lopsided development. You can be a bhakta to the exclusion of other things. But harmony or synthesis is a better word, synthesis of these four yogas in our life, that gives a balance to our personality. That is what Swami Vivekananda emphasized. That's why the logo of the emblem of the Ramakrishna mission, he made sure that will guide humanity for ages to come. You will find the Kundalini or the Raj Yoga represented by the snake. You know the meaning of that symbol. And how a harmony of all the four yogas, all the four pathways, can help us to train our mind and explore all the possibilities of the human mind, as I said, which is our window to the whole world. I mean, we perceive, as Buddha said, as you think, so you become. So a lot of importance is given to the development of the mind. And in fact, yoga, Patanjali's yoga is nothing but dealing with the mental aspects. Though they begin with the gross aspects, we have yama, niyama, which resemble karma yoga, because we need a disciplined life. First we need to move from the gross to the subtle cannot be a quantum jump. You cannot suddenly jump to the subtle world all of a sudden. So Patanjali has a graded way. Raj Yoga says there's a graded method, Ashtanga Yoga, where you begin with a disciplined life, and then asana, which enables you to make your body steady. Because very often, before even trying to make the mind steady, we have to quieten the restlessness that is there in the body. That itself is a difficult task. That is why Patanjali is focusing so much on this asana or the yama and niyama. Because unless we lead a disciplined and regulated life, we cannot, not only can we control the mind, but we cannot control our actions also. But then there is this prana, which is sandwiched between the Annamaya Kosha and the Manomaya Kosha. So prana affects both. On this side, it affects our functioning of our body, and to maintain some kind of harmony which is necessary for spiritual progress, we need to do some kind of pranayama. And Swami Vivekananda says deep regular breathing. Of course, Holy Mother says you don't have to practice pranayama separately. The japa yoga or the practice of japa automatically induces a sort of pranayama which is sufficient for most of the upasakas or sadhakas. Because that regular repetition of the holy name, which is a great tradition. In fact, Holy Mother gave so much of importance to that. She used to say the easiest and the best way to solve all the problems of life, not only material but even our spiritual problems, mental problems. She says, mind you, she says it's not just the easiest way. People may think, after all, what is there? We just go on repeating the holy name. Will it lead? We want some complicated ideas. People want complicated things. They are not happy with simple things. But Holy Mother is very careful. She says it is not only the easiest but the best way. I've read it in Bengali also to confirm whether, and she says it's not only an easy way. If it is an easy way, there are people who think, oh, I can follow difficult ways. This easy way is not for, maybe it's for a novice. But Holy Mother says, no, it is the easiest and the best way. Because the science of japa yoga, the science of japa, those who have, most of you are initiated, you know, it has a wonderful capacity to use the power of the holy name to harmonize all these yogas. That's why Mother said it's the best way also to solve all the problems. Because it deals with the mind, and just as all the yogas are helping us to use different faculties, the faculty of thinking to discriminate between what is real or what is permanent and what is temporary. That is Jnana Yoga, as simple as that. If you see the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, when Master Mahashaya asks Sri Ramakrishna what is the way, he first begins, he gives such a simple method, a series of steps that one has to take, which covers all the 4 yogas. First he begins with Nirjanvas or solitude. He said, first you have to go to solitude. In his own life, we see, though he was busy with so many things, suddenly Hriday would notice that Mama has disappeared. He will go into the Panchavati, and he was always hankering for that solitude, because it's only in solitude that one can control one's mind. So Nirjanvas, and he insisted, he requested him, and he made provisions for Master Mahashaya to leave his highly disturbed household where he was living and his workplace, which was equally disturbing. So he said, how can you practice spirituality? You come away, have some satsang, or at least come and stay here. He also made provisions for him to stay in solitude in Dakshineshwar, if you remember. So much he was encouraging Master Mahashaya, and he knew that's the issue that everyone faces. We just cannot get solitude, not only physical solitude, but a solitude where we can watch our thoughts, practice some kind of Rajoga. So solitude, Nirjanvas, that is what Sri Ramakrishna begins with. So begins with Rajoga, then he says Sadhu Sangha, but before that he says Nitya Anitya Vastu Viveka. So in that he is covering the entire Jnana Yoga. Try to find out the why of things. You know, there is a very interesting book which has been published. Perhaps that author has not read Swami Vivekananda, but he is a very popular writer, Simon Sinek. He says, always begin any endeavor with a why. Begin with a why. That is the name of a book, which in Vedanta we say it is prayojana. So without any prayojana, we should not begin any activity. So what is the prayojana? Why should we do certain things? So their discrimination, viveka, nitya anitya vastu viveka, is running after this temporary thing going to give me something eternal or permanent? So that is a simple technique of Jnana Yoga which Sri Ramakrishna speaks in the Gospel. He says you have to do along with solitude. It's not enough if you just have solitude, go into solitude for some time in your daily routine, but you should have this buddhi or vivek buddhi alert, so that you know what is nitya, what is anitya, what is worth running after. Why should I do it? Should at least ask the question why before doing anything, not just jump into any activity. So this viveka buddhi helps us to make right choices at the right time in our life so that we don't repent afterwards. Choice making, viveka, is so important that Shankaracharya had to write a book, Viveka Chudamani. There are so many verses just explaining what is viveka, this nitya anitya vastu viveka, how important it is in our spiritual life. So anything that is temporary cannot give us lasting peace and happiness. So every time we undertake a task, that is the path of jnana, as Sri Ramakrishna explains it in a very simple way to Master Mahasaya. He says we have to find out what is eternal in our life, what will give that element of eternity in our life, and what is temporary, which we may have to deal with. We cannot ignore the temporary things because we have been born and brought up that way. As Yama tells Nachiketa, that Paranchikhani Vetrunat Swayambhu, God has created us so that we always look outside, not inside. Unfortunately, only Kaschid Dhiraha, some steady people who are dhiras, very rare few, they try to look inward, what is inward. So it's not our fault, it is Swayambhu who has literally killed us. So naturally we will have to deal with temporary things. But no, Sri Ramakrishna says, just know it for certain that temporary things will at the most give you temporary happiness, temporary peace. But you have to always keep in mind that holding on to the eternal, if you keep in mind that God realization is the only goal of life. It can be the only goal of life because only holding on to the eternal, permanent, undivided consciousness, whether it is through Jnana Yoga, through solitude, through meditation, through Karma Yoga, through any yoga, this goal should be kept in mind. So that is how Sri Ramakrishna in a simple way explains Jnana Yoga and speaks of harmony right in the beginning of the gospel. Then he says, then you have to take the name of the Lord, which is Bhakti Yoga, pray to Him, chant His name, His glories, which is Bhakti Yoga, and serve everyone, which is his last and the most important message, which is Karma Yoga, trying to serve the servants of or the devotees of God. That is, do Karma Yoga, the act of service should be directed to the God in man, especially the devotees. And this comes because of Sadhu Sangha. So he always said Sadhu Sangha can also mean reading of good books, good literature. So most of the books which we find, we read just to satisfy our intellectual curiosity. But there's another way of reading books. For example, we are very grateful to Revered Maharaj for all those who don't understand Bengali, for the English reader. You are brought into the presence of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna lived with them, they lived with Sri Ramakrishna, living so many ways of feeling his presence. That is Sadhu Sangha. We may not have seen Sri Ramakrishna, we may not have lived with his disciples, so they lived with God. There's another way of reading. It's not just to satisfy our academic desire to know many things and all those things, but just to read to get holy company. So such books are a means of Sadhu Sangha. We may not get Sadhu Sangha, but these books, as Swami Vivekananda said, Sri Ramakrishna also mentioned that, we are transported into that world, a real world which happened only 150, 200 years ago. And that is the beauty of the gospel. Master Mahasaya transports us, gives us actual Sadhu Sangha of Sri Ramakrishna. Even after so many years when we read the gospel, you will find. So with that attitude, not with the attitude of knowing things, just allowing, as Swami Vivekananda said, he said even the Upanishads, if you go too much into its commentary and all the academic polemics and other things, it's not going to help. In one place he says, just let the original ideas of the Vedic rishis, the original realization, just read them as you read poetry and allow it to sink into your consciousness. That is how Swami Vivekananda says, there are so many books, but reading books is not the goal. How it helps us to have this holy company of the rishis, of the Upanishads, whose words are realization, the gospel and all the direct disciples whom we are not fortunate enough to see. But thanks to these books, this holy literature, we can enjoy that holy company as if bring the past into the present. And Swami Shardananji, in his great master, beautiful book, he mentions a very important thing, a psychological truth, something to do not only with psychology but with our physiology also. It was a very remarkable sentence that he mentioned. He said, Sri Ramakrishna's realizations and whatever Sri Ramakrishna thought, it was not restricted to just thinking, ideas that are frozen in our brain which are never converted into concrete action. But for him, Sardanji writes, it was a nervous association of ideas. They were not ideas which we share. Gospel cannot be read or we cannot share those ideas. If those ideas are somehow through the practice of yoga nervously associated with our whole nervous system. I give you a simple example. Touching of the coin, which Swami Vivekananda tried to test because he could not believe that what he says, because many of us says many things, but it has not become part, it has not been nervously associated with our body. So, though we believe in those ideas, we have faith in those ideas, but when it comes to practice, as Thakur says in Bangla, manmukh ek kora, it is very difficult for most of us. But Swami Shardananji says every idea in Sri Ramakrishna's mind immediately found expression in action, because those ideas were, he is speaking the language of a doctor, was nervously associated with his entire system. So even unconsciously, when the coin touched, even Swami Vivekananda tried to test him, he just sprang as if a scorpion has stung him. Why was that? Because the idea that I shall not touch money or any metal was so deeply ingrained as a result of intense meditation, nidhi dhyasana or intense dhyana. So when those ideas which do not remain at the surface but go far, far deeper into our personality through the process of yoga, then we find that it gets nervously associated, and then all the yogas are harmonized. What we think, the Jnana Yoga helps us to put that into practice. It becomes, Vedanta becomes practical, as Swamiji said. If it is not practical, it is of no use. Vedanta has to be practical. So in his Jnana Yoga he says, so because those Jnana ideas that we read in the scriptures as a result of practice of these 4 yogas with devotion and with true understanding of the purport and meaning of those verses, and allowing them, as Swami Vivekananda again says, he says just allow the Upanishadic teachings. Don't bother too much about giving explanations, trying to read some commentary. Just allow them. Let the original thoughts sink into your personality and let them act. From that will come concrete action. So that was his goal of goal of harmony of yogas, where you combine the aspect of thinking, rationalizing, which is Jnana Yoga, try to get emotionally involved in that, whether it is God with form or without form, that emotional attachment, that yearning, that vyakulta, which comes out of emotional attachment, which has been transmuted into bhakti, and then try to see that these ideas and emotions find expression in our day-to-day life, in every moment of life, as he tells Sister Nivedita. My goal is to see that this manifestation of divinity happens in every moment of life. That's nothing but karma yoga. So Sri Ramakrishna emphasized that, And in his first message one of the first messages he gave to M, he spoke of this harmony of yogas, how these the four pathways which represent the four aspects of our mind, three aspects which Western psychology understands, which recognizes, but they failed. The yoga psychology adds one more dimension, the power that is released when you subdue or when you control your thoughts. When the thoughts become less and less, chitta vrittis, when they become less, the soul manifests, the consciousness within manifests itself. And at different levels, we find that we progress from, as Swamiji said, reading of more of spirit into matter. That is, yoga helps us to manifest more and more of spirituality in a very gradual way. And if we harmonize, then we gather all the powers of the mind and not one power to the exclusion of others, which also is possible. But Swamiji says a well-rounded personality, like my master, is the ideal. We have to harmonize these four. That is why he was very keen to convey that through the emblem of the Ramakrishna order, that we have to harmonize in our own life these four yogas. So these are the four pathways. As I said, there can be different pathways, innumerable pathways, as many pathways, as many faiths, so many pathways. But these four broad pathways, it has a great psychological background to that. It takes up all the four different broad aspects of the mind, the very constitution of the mind, and sees that a well-balanced approach, a yoga, this pathway which leads us not only through one or more of these pathways, but all the four pathways, harmonizing the effort to manifest that divinity within. So, thank you, Maharaj, for this opportunity to share a few thoughts on the fourth. There is time, or?
You can continue a little bit more.
Is it? No, I was worried because. Okay, fine. So, so that is how these four yogas, as I said, there are some interesting things about meditation, because I was, as I told you, Maharaj's compilation is very good. He has divided it into two sections, meditation according to yoga, meditation according to Vedanta. It's technically they are different. But I was just wondering, because everybody who comes to our center asks about meditation, and that is what inspired Maharaj also to write this. It's better that Swami Vivekananda's thoughts are given to them rather than. So I found that the difference between this Vedantic meditation or the Advait Vedantic meditation, Dharana, Dhyana and Nididhyasana, and the Patanjali's way of meditation, which can be broadly classified. And then there are other meditations which are more popular than Vedantic meditation. If you go to England, for example, every street you will find a Buddhist meditation center, because they teach only meditation. And I think that's why they are more popular. And they don't ask you to believe in any personal God. So I was wondering why this Buddhist meditation is so popular, especially for people who do not want to have this concept of personal God. So I found that basically there are three types of meditation, and I'll conclude with that. One is the subjective meditation. If you read Swamiji's thoughts, the Vedantic meditation, it deals with the subject, the self. So you deny everything by a process of neti, and try to assert the self within. So there are many practitioners of this. Those who practice Advaita, you first do Shravana here, then you contemplate on what its truth is, and then do Nididhyasana till that it becomes a established idea and you realize the truth. That can be called as a subjective meditation. So that is how popularly followed by Advaita, Raman Maharshi and others who just said, try to discover yourself. It is very popular because it does not involve any kind of personal God in this. So people feel, though it is not easy, but they feel this suits their temperament. But there is another meditation which Most of the Semitic religions who believe in a personal God, it is known as objective meditation. Though Patanjali says you can have any object as an object of your meditation. But he also says that meditating on a great soul, a great prophet, it helps because you inherit those qualities yourself. Constantly meditating, Sri Ramakrishna also says that. So that is an objective meditation where the object can be anything. It can be a lamp, it can be some light, or it can be a deity, an Ishta, whom you have chosen to be your personal God, associated with or without a mantra. Mostly it is associated with a mantra, but there are other traditions where mantra is replaced by prayer. For the Greek Orthodox tradition, they say, "O Lord Jesus, have mercy upon me." This is sort of repetition. But the main idea is, in this, repetition is very important. Punaravritti, the repetition itself helps us to control the mind. So it is not just the power behind the mantra that is important, it's how you repeat it, with how much devotion and intensity you repeat it. So that repetition, at least for the time being, it removes uncertainty from our mind, because all these uncertain thoughts of anxiety and other things, they keep propping up because of our old samskaras. So the easiest and the best way, as Holy Mother said, you try to repress, not suppress it, you try to counter it through pratipaksha bhavana by imposing a holy thought again and again. So repeatedly when you do it, you will see that those thoughts decrease, and slowly you will find that in a very natural process you are able to control those thoughts. So that is one way of doing pratipaksha bhavana. But for people, that is for those who have faith in a Ishta, faith in a mantra, and knowing fully well that the name and the named are not different. That's another great idea behind this mantra yoga, that Nam Nami Abhed, that there is when you utter the name, automatically in your consciousness, the Nami or the idol, the Ishta has to be present there. So the name and Nami cannot be separated. But there is a third type of meditation, where according to Buddhism, I mean most of the Buddhist schools believe in that, because if you are not sure of the object or not sure of the ultimate object, because they don't believe in God, nor they believe in the true, they don't bother their heads about the true nature of the self. They said that is also not important. Buddha taught a new method of meditation, which is known as process meditation. He says, whatever be the nature of the object, don't go into discussing whether he is a personal God, whether there is a God or not, what's the nature. Don't bother your heads. There is misery because of the thoughts of your mind. There is misery which you can perceive, and it is perceived in the mind. So he taught a meditation which is focusing on the awareness or the connection between the subject and the object. Whatever be the nature of subject and object, you just meditate. It is known as mind, sometimes it is known as mindfulness meditation. So you just are mindful, neither of the subject or the object exclusively, just seeing how the thoughts appear. So it is there in Hindu tradition also. We call it Sakshi Bhava, the witness, the attitude of a witness. We just watch things happening and we just don't associate with them. It is only when we associate with our thoughts, that is what Patanjali also says, when the kleshas get involved in our thoughts, then the reaction begins, and then we accumulate karma and samskaras, and it becomes a habit and it causes so much of misery. But if you disassociate with those thoughts, just to watch them, that is another way which can be termed as process meditation, the process connecting the subject and the object. So when we just observe the thoughts arising as a result of contact of the subject, that is the self, with the outside world, the object, there is a process which gives rise to a reaction. So watching that, just watching that process, the good reaction or the bad reaction, and focusing on the awareness or just being mindful of that process, that thought process, is another type of meditation which is prescribed, and that is sometimes more popular because it does not involve any predetermined object or an object or some belief in some Ishta or some personal God, which many people find difficult. The so-called rational people, they find difficult. But they find this is okay, watching our own thoughts, not even bothering about the discussion about the self, which Buddha did not want anyone to bother their heads about. He said, there is misery, try to find out what is the way out of misery, I will show you how to do it. And so that class of meditation, that category of meditation can be termed as process meditation, where you are aware of the process. In fact, when we were in training center, we were allowed to speak for 10 minutes with Revered Swami Bhuteshanji Maharaj, who was the then president. So they said each brahmachari can go and ask questions, but don't disturb Maharaj, only 10 minutes, whatever you have to ask. You have to ask. So most of us had only one problem, meditation. Everyone finds meditation difficult. So I went and asked. So Maharaj, all of a sudden, he said, he didn't suggest any solution. Oh, he said it is common. Then I thought, no, Maharaj should, I was insisting, no, Maharaj, there should be some way, this is the difficulty, this is the. He said, you do one thing, you read a nice book, and he suggested the name of the book, The Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich Thich Nhat. I don't know how to pronounce it. Thich Thich Nhat, he is a Vietnamese monk. So I was surprised because I had never heard of course I had heard of Buddhist meditation and Zen and all those things, but we never knew. Then I thought, maybe will it not conflict with my sadhana, upasana? He said, no, you don't worry. First you read that and try to see. First you have to be mindful. First you have to do everything with awareness. If you are doing your day-to-day work with awareness, with mindfulness, you will see that during the time of meditation, you find it very easy to control your thoughts. So you have to be mindful. Don't do anything mechanically. That is what this miracle of mindfulness. It's a nice book. Then of course I read that book. And then I found that this is what they mean when they say Buddhist meditation is a process meditation. It's just being mindful. But of course that is not the ultimate. That is just the beginning, helping you, for those who are practicing meditation according to the instructions given by the Guru. Of course, he did not mention that, but he said it will be a great help to calm down the mind as a preparation for our regular upasana or meditation. So that is what I recollect. So this Raj Yoga, or the science of meditation, it's a very, very useful way. As I said, Swami Vivekananda believed that this is the king of yogas because psychology is the king of all sciences. We know everything about so many sciences, biological sciences, physical sciences. But the most important thing, which is our window to the entire world, which is our own mind, we have not mastered the science of that. That is why he emphasized it is the king of yoga, king of sciences. It's the science that ought to be studied first. And that's why he says, if I had an opportunity to have my education all over again, first I would train myself to develop concentration, to teach the child or teach myself somehow to control my mind. And with that controlled mind, I can acquire any other knowledge. Any other science becomes easy if the science of the mind, which is Raj Yoga, according to Swamiji, which is the king of all sciences. He says psychology is the king of all sciences. So it helps us in our other 4 yogas. So I conclude now, Maharaj. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.
I really appreciated Swami's talk. His thoughts are very clear and very practical. Only I want to add a few things about his talk. His topic was 4 yogas. Do you know how I look at 4 yogas? If you go to Ringling Brothers Circus, you will find a clown will come with 1-wheel cycle. 1 wheel, and he goes so fast around this place he moves. It needs a lot of balancing. Then comes bicycle, 2 wheels. Goes, but it needs balancing. If you have a 3 wheels rickshaw or cycle, it does not need too much balancing, but it do not give too much speed. But if you have 4-wheel car, bas, goes 70 miles speed. That is the way I look at 4 yogas. Speed. The Swami Vivekananda, before leaving the Western world, he said in New York, before I leave, I must leave something for these American people, Western people. That is 4 yogas. If you read these 4 yogas, I always say, you exactly know what religion is and what you are supposed to do. Nobody can cheat you. You know exactly what true religion is. That Swamiji says, this manifest divinity. His soul is potentially divine. The goal is to manifest the divinity by controlling nature. By work, by worship, or psychic control, or philosophy, by one or more or all of these, and be free. This is the whole of religion. That Swamiji says in Raja Yoga. Another thing he mentioned, we do not see electricity, but we see the manifestation of electricity through light, through computer, everywhere. We do not see Brahman, that pure consciousness, but we see the manifestation of consciousness in human system in 3 places. Upanishad says that. Jnana Shakti, Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti. The consciousness first manifests the buddhi, knowledge comes. Then in the mind, power of willpower comes. That same Shakti. Again it manifests in physical body, mind, body and the senses. All this, the same pure consciousness is working through this human system in this way. Another thing he mentioned about Swamiji's, these 4 yogas, the idea, the symbol of the Ramakrishna order. Swamiji was eating breakfast in New York. And Van Hagen, a Dutch printer, came to Swamiji. Swamiji, we are going to print Raja Yoga. We'd like to have a symbol we shall put in the book. Swamiji was eating breakfast and he has an envelope. He cut the envelope. And inside that empty place, with a pencil, he drew this diagram. First, wavy ocean represents karma. Then a flower, lotus, represents bhakti yoga. Then rising sun, that represents jnana yoga. Then he put a serpent around, Kundalini, awakening of the Kundalini Shakti. That is Raja Yoga. Then he gave to Van Hagen and said, now you draw it according to your scale. I gave my ideas. That is something marvelous. Swamiji was so unique, original, the way he presented those four yogas as a symbol of the Ramakrishna order. Sometimes we think of all those incidents and episodes, and he mentioned another about mindfulness, and toward the end, you know, somebody asked about Buddha and Shankara. Shankara, Buddha, do you know what Buddha did? He killed the ego. Simply killed it. Shankara did not kill the ego. He took the ego and connected with Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. He just, that little consciousness, I consciousness, he just united with cosmic consciousness without killing. Buddha mercilessly killed this ego. And mindfulness. I was once in Rome, Zen meditation. I joined a group. I was watching what they're doing. Mindfulness, do you know how they look at mindfulness? He mentioned very correctly the be the witness. That is the Vedantic way. You have a little boy, John, very restless, naughty boy. John, you are, John says, somebody is watching me, I cannot run around, I cannot be free, as somebody is controlling me. The John. So if you really watch your mind, you see restlessness, mind is running here and there. Hey, where are you going? What? All the time, if you what, where are you going? If you do these things, mind just stops. Then thought waves comes. What are those thought waves? Pasana, desires, continuously desires. Hey, I'm supposed to meditate on my Ishto, or I shall not meditate anything. What are you doing? Immediately you see, if you can do it 5 minutes, you will see mind just stops. The moment mind just stops, desire stops. That is the Yoga Vasishtha says. Vasanakkhay, mononash, tattva-gyan. Cessation of desire, dissolution of the mind, and illumination. These three things happen. Anyhow, I really appreciate, he gave a very good talk. I really appreciate it. Thoughts are clear, language is clear. Thank you, brother. Now, next week, who will speak? I shall speak. Buddha and his teachings, that is our special anniversary service. Next week I shall speak. And Swami will sit in the library. Please talk to him. Ask him a question. I did not ask him here. What does he do in UNESCO? Ask him there. He will tell you all the stories because I did not disturb him. Please talk to him. And then now